Welcome back to the Relationship Series. We are in season number 7. I am your host, Genevieve. Here we have transformational conversations that help you to revolutionize your relationships. Essentially, we have conversations that help us to build powerful relationships. And today we are talking about the top 10 lessons I learned going through divorce. Tomorrow, July 18th, would be my 10-year anniversary, wedding anniversary if I had stayed married. So, this list is 10 years in the making, pretty much. And happy non-anniversary to me. Confession, as I started building this list, I was probably about 30 lessons in, like 30 lessons strong, and all of them were top 10 worthy. Um, so this was really hard to condense, but hopefully I've managed to choose 10 that will be helpful for you and that you can perhaps pass on to anyone who might be going through their own divorce situation or who might be in a marriage situation that they need to reevaluate or they need to improve or whatever the case is. So here we go. Top 10 lessons I learned in divorce. Number 10. Number 10 is my friends and family are the bomb. Okay. You really never know who is in your corner until life explodes. Like until ish hits the fan and everything, is falling apart. You never really know who's in your corner, who's going to show up for you. And I remember going through divorce and my people showed up. I had to move back home with my mom. My mom showed up for me. She cooked my favorite meal. She was like, "You want soup today? You want salmon today? You want chili today?" She comforted me. I didn't have to pay rent. Like it was a caring moment. Mom showed up. My friends, my sister girls showed up for me. They would like whisk me away to Miami Beach or whatever. We just sit on the beach or we would just go to restaurants, sit down. I would be crying. I would be like, oh my God, my life is over. They would sit in silence. They would sit and crack jokes with me, make me laugh. They were there. They were present with me. And for those of you know, I had a best friend growing up who was a male, and everybody thought, oh, you guys are going to get married because, that was just the thing. And we didn't get married. So when I did get married, our relationship became more distant. And I was very devastated because, he didn't show up for my wedding. It was kind of a weird thing, weird time. But when I was going through divorce, when I was going through my separation, we kind of were able to reconnect. And it was super meaningful for me. I feel myself about to like tear up right now because it was super meaningful for me for us to be able to reconnect like that. I see you on the line today, Jay. And so I just want to say that I love you. All my peoples, I love you guys so much. And I definitely learned in divorce who was for me, who was going to show up for me. Um, and I realized that healing is not like a solo act. It's not an individual thing. Healing happens best in community with other people, with safe relationships that can help calm the nervous system, and for just people who are willing to show up and yeah, just be there. So like shout out to my real ones and to my day ones who were present with me, who were there, who showed up to remind me of who I was when I had my doubts because life was falling apart and telling me all kinds of lies. So if you guys have, relationships in your life, cherish them, nurture them, and I pray that they show up for you that the way my people showed up for me when I was going through a divorce. So that's my number 10. My friends and family are the bomb. Number 9, lesson number 9 I learned in divorce. Whew, love has layers and levels. Not all love is created equal. So I went through a divorce or what I should say, I went through a marriage and I felt like my marriage was, fine. It was what I had. It was what I deserved at the time. And I did my best with it. And I experienced whatever feelings I had. Now, going through divorce, I was able to encounter like just different levels and different types of love that showed me there was a lot missing in my marriage. After my divorce, I met this guy. We'll call him, what shall we call him? We'll call him Light. I met Light, and I went to grad school. I had moved out. I was living on near campus with a roommate, and I remember we kind of were talking, and chit-chatting, and one day he was like, "Hey, do you want to go like grab drinks or grab a bite or whatever?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, but today's not a good day because I'm moving." So that was the day I had finished my grad studies. I was graduating and I was moving back home. And I was like, I'm moving, I need a truck. And he was like, I have a truck, I'll move you. And I was like, it's such a weird, it's such a weird like offer it was a weird offer at the time, but he came, we packed up all my things, and he moved me from my near campus apartment to back to home. And we had a blast. We had the most amazing time. We laughed, we cracked jokes. Like it was such a silly, weird experience. But what I realized was I had never felt that way before. Like I was smitten. I was like over head over heels, smitten, in love. And it was deep. I would have given my life for this guy. It was so deep. Um, I felt a level of like emotional freedom and emotional safety and emotional connection that I hadn't experienced before. And my my lesson was that I wouldn't have experienced that if I didn't have the first experience to compare it to, if that makes sense. And I re like he was like my chauffeur for the next like 3 years. We were like inseparable. He would like drop me off, wait for me, like come pick me up. Like it was just he was just there, and I was accepted, fully accepted. Like all parts of me were accepted. All parts of Genevieve, like silly Genevieve, loud Genevieve, crazy Genevieve, judgmental Genevieve, like healing Genevieve, broken Genevieve, serious, studious Genevieve, like all parts of me were acceptable in this relationship. And I had just never experienced that before. And so I realized that love has layers and levels. Like we can go deeper, right? And it can happen in marriage, but it didn't happen for me in marriage. It happened for me afterwards. So that was a lesson that I learned. And if you are in marriage, know that there are always deeper levels to go. You can go deeper. You can uncover more layers. And if you are out of marriage, know that you can reconnect with a love that is super, that is strong, that is deep, and that is healing and fulfilling. So that was my number 9 lesson. Divorce lesson number 8. Lessons I learned in divorce number 8. Oh, I like this one. My heart is pretty smart. Okay. I learned that over the length of my marriage, my heart was sending me messages, but my brain or my mind or my head, I guess, was kind of like, was doing like this return to sender thing. Like, no, that's not true. No, that's not what you feel. No, that's not what's happening. But my body was very adamant about repeating the message. And there's a book called Body Keeps the Score, and it talks about like somatic experience. So what your body is telling you and how your body gives you messaging. And I didn't realize it until afterwards how much my mind and my mouth were giving me like excuses. Like, no, it's gonna be okay. No, it's all right. Uh, you know, um, it's the first year of marriage. It's supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be hard and so on. And like, meanwhile, my body is like, no, Jen, like, this doesn't feel good. Like something has to shift and something has to change and something is happening here that you really need to pay attention to and address. And I remember I was like super anxious. I used to be like really tense. And I'm not an anxious person generally. So, to feel that level of anxiety, like I really had to do a lot to tell myself like, no, you're not feeling what you're feeling. But my heart is pretty smart. So my body was telling me like, no, you're exhausted, you're anxious, you're tense. I don't know if you've ever been in a space where someone has like maybe thrown a ball at you and you've seen it from the corner of your eye, or somebody has gone to like hit you and you've like flinched? I was like in a perpetual flinch for like 6 months. Like my body was like, Jen, something is happening. Your heart, my heart was like, Jen, something is happening. Um, and I didn't pay attention to body wisdom until way after I was separated and I was reflecting on how in the world this happened. And I realized that I didn't give a lot of credit to my, I guess my somatic intelligence as much as I gave credit to my cognitive intelligence. And so I think my lesson there was that the heart speaks and the heart does know things. And it's important to pay attention. I remember one day and you guys have probably had this experience. You get home, you're tired, you stay in the car for longer than you need to before you go inside because you just need to decompress from the day before you go in. But there was one time I sat outside in the car and my body just was like, sorry, girl, you're not going in there. And I must have sat outside for like 3.5 hours, not doing anything. I wasn't scrolling. I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't like, I was just sitting there like, my body was just like this heavy weight. It was like, you're not going anywhere. You're anchored to the ground right now. Um, and my body just refused to go in. And I had to listen at that point because my heart was very loud at that point. And so it's important. It's important for us to um, listen to our hearts and stop trying to convince ourselves at times that nothing is happening because something is happening. Our hearts are pretty smart. Um, hey, Chief, I see you in the house. Holler. Good to see you. Um, Divorce lesson number, what number am I on? Seven? Seven. So lessons I learned in divorce, number seven. Pain is a portal. So pain is an opening to something. Um, I felt a lot of pain. I've cried a lot in the shower. I have, you know, I've felt a lot of pain. And here I am. So pain doesn't kill me, didn't kill me. Pain won't kill us, right? It's not it's not a death sentence to feel pain, but it really sucks. Pain really sucks. And I didn't have a lot of tools or as many tools as I have now to deal with my emotions, especially intense, overwhelming emotions. So at the time I didn't know this, but going through my divorce and walking through healing allowed me to recognize that pain was leading me somewhere. Like suppressing things or repressing things or denying things kept me stuck. But once I engaged with the pain, like sitting with the pain, exploring the pain, feeling the pain, allowing myself to feel the pain instead of ignoring it, escaping from it, distracting myself from it, wishing it away, avoiding, and essentially are all those things. But once I stopped doing that, it led me somewhere. It helped me to see things differently, right? It was a portal to me understanding myself and my life differently. And so going through the divorce, I realized that I had a tendency to bottle things up. I had a tendency to sort of gather pain and tuck it away until it was too much to bear. And then I would explode. Like one time I remember no word of a lie, this is confession, it's good for the soul. I flipped out. This is at Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is like notorious for getting your order wrong. Like that's just what happens. And it's happened to me 1,000 times. But this day, I guess I had just bottled up way too much. I flipped out at this poor girl who didn't get my tea right. Peppermint tea, large peppermint tea, two tea bags, two sugars. She put milk in my tea. And I just could not handle it. I was done that day. But it's because I had bottled up so much that I just couldn't handle. I just couldn't. It sounds crazy right now as I say it, looking back, But you guys have probably felt the same thing. Like you just bottle it up so much that because you don't want to feel the pain, that eventually you just break down. So I realized that pain is a portal. It leads you somewhere. It's an opening to newness, to um, freedom, to more lightness. It's just a portal. And so I would encourage us to learn that lesson quickly, but to sit with the pain, sit with our pain. When I think of it in terms of pictures, I think of like putting water in like a pond or like a swamp or like a lagoon where it's like sitting still and it's like gathering it's like smells and it's like gathering seaweed and stuff. That's like when you repress or suppress your emotions, right? It's just like sitting still water versus like when you allow yourself to experience your emotions and feel the pain, it's like an ocean, like a vast ocean, like an opening to this space where there are like waves and moving water and it's bigger, it's lighter. Everybody loves the beach type of thing. So, yeah, I think that lesson was very important for me to learn in divorce. And uh, I mean, emotions don't go anywhere anyways, so they're just gonna wait patiently for you to like acknowledge them, or they're just gonna wait for like a window, and it might be a drive-through window at Tim Hortons to like come out. So they're there anyway. So you might as well just, do your due diligence to like feel them and process them and address them so that they don't hijack your life at their own will. There's a saying, I think it's
No.
what
Okay, I
you
moved it. I just wanted not
resist,
to freak out. I
what you
accident, it was
resist
okay, but it's
persists,
running and it's gonna have like
and
half an
what
hour running
you
parked in front of it. So finally, I just
feel
moved it out of the
heals.
way. I want to make sure it
I think
wasn't
it's
your
it's
straight
something
shot.
along those
No, no
lines. But
problem.
basically, it's the same lesson, right? Feel your feelings, process through what's going on for you, and it will open you up to parts of yourself and parts of life and newer perspectives that were buried, that you totally didn't have access to, and that can turn you into a new person. I mean, you're still yourself, or I'm still me, right? But like a different version of me. I'm actually pretty different um, right now than I was then. I feel a lot different and I see life a lot differently. So that was number seven. Lessons I learned in divorce. Number six was grieving is growing. Grieving is growing. And this is similar, but not the same, because grief is a process. And I believe it's an ongoing process. So um, many, I don't know what you would call them, like a lot of the information, let's say, about grief shows grief as in stages. So sometimes we think of grief as like a linear process. Um, and some people show them like as spaghetti, like you kind of go through stages at will. One day you're happy, one day you're
Oh, I
sad, one
just
day you're
like this
bargaining,
new
one day you're this, one day you're
scavenging.
that. But in my experience, grief
Okay.
is actually
Thanks.
cyclical. And so tomorrow,
Okay, cool.
July 18th, would have been my 10-year wedding anniversary. But it's not because I got a divorce, right? And so when July 18th comes around, I have moments of like, oh man, like that happened in my life. And so grief can resurface. And grief is kind of sneaky sometimes, right? It can resurface in different ways. But what I found is that over the years, I have grown to experience grief, to express grief in different ways, and then also to handle myself going through grief in different ways. So a lot more grace now for sure, a lot more clarity and understanding and awareness for sure. But I think I I think what I hold true and dear is that grieving is a growth process and that it is cyclical at the end of the day. I will tell you a story, and this is in my very recent history. Um, I was with a family. I have a lot of adopted families. I love, people. I was with a family, a dad and his kids. This was last weekend, and we were just playing games. Had a lot of fun, it was great. And then they they left. They left, and I sat down on the couch and broke down crying. Like grief showed up again. And I I thought, what is this about? And it was being a part of a family. I wanted that. I want that. I still want that. And it was hard for me to hold that here I am. I'm a single female, doing my thing, doing life. I love my life. I'm super fulfilled and content, but I also want that. And so grief comes in these moments where I realize that I don't have that in the way that I had thought I would have that. But it was a growth moment for me. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? I can admit now that that is something that I desire. It is something that I didn't get or I don't have up until this point, let's say. Um, and I can hold that truth. I can hold that reality and hold the emotions that come along with it and offer myself grace and compassion in it. I was like, girl, look at you growing, continuing to grow through grief. And so grief means like to keep going no matter what, and knowing that there's no expiry date for the grief. It will continue. It'll happen in different ways. It'll show up in different ways. But if you don't grieve, then you might get stuck. You might get stuck in like a denial space and you won't be able to, get past it. So, grieving is a growth process. That's my number. Was that number six? Yes, number six. Um, and we're speeding through because for the last few weeks, I realized that I didn't get through all of them. So we're making sure to get through all of them today. Okay, lessons I learned in divorce number five. Woo, I like this one too. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness is freedom. Uh, when I realized that forgiveness was for me, by me, and would lead me to feeling better, I was sold. I was sold, like hands down, no holds bar. I was like, sign me up 100 times, check off all the boxes. Whatever forgiveness needs to happen, I am there. I'm forgiving everyone. I'm forgiving everything. I am forgiving the Tim Hortons lady for getting my order wrong. I'm forgiving the mosquitoes and the sand flies for biting me and putting marks on my skin. I'm forgiving. I'm just forgiving. I'm forgiving my bed for being too soft and giving me backache because I can't take it back to the store. I'm forgiving everything and everybody. Like I am forgiveness 101 because I realize that forgiveness means my freedom and I have control over that. Was it hard? Yes. Not that it wasn't hard. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna forgive. No, it is hard and it is ongoing. But what I realized was that forgiveness bought me a ticket to my future. So forgiveness allowed for me to feel empowered in my present, even though it was a mess, even though it felt hard. Um, Forgiveness gave me a tool. It was active. I was like, oh, I can do something about the fact that my life just blew up. And I learned that going through divorce and having to release my ex-husband from my heart. And I remember the day that I realized, and it didn't happen all at once for sure, but the day I realized that I was freer than I'd ever been was I had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and she was actually going through her own separation with her husband. And we sat there and she was very devastated and she was just bawling and why did he do this to me and how could he do this to me? And we have a daughter and I can't believe it and all these things. And I was like, I'm not there anymore. Like I don't need anything from my ex-husband. I don't need him to understand my pain. I don't need him to understand how he hurt me. I don't need to speak to him. I don't need to resolve anything. I don't need a letter. I don't need an apology. I don't need anything from this man. And I am free as a
No,
bird.
in the
I'm
vehicle. Which
free.
one
I'm
are you looking
content.
for?
I'm happy. I'm
Daryl?
fulfilled. I'm pursuing life. And I,
There's
I
two
realized
lieutenants
that I
and one
wasn't
captain, so.
there
I'm the low man on the
anymore.
totem pole.
And that helped me to see
Um,
like the big pieces
Actually,
um
he's all the way
of the forgiveness
in the
process
other
were
building.
were
Yeah, if you send him a
were
text, he'll be
happening
out here. They're
or
just
had
shooting the shit.
happened for me. And what
You
I
all
also
done, or
realized
you want me
was
to reach
that
out to him, or
it's it's been and it continues to
okay?
be a process. So it happened and is happening in stages and in pieces as they appear. So I have to continuously re-engage with forgiveness. So it's not a one-time thing, oh, I forgive and that's fine. It's almost like this weird random scavenger hunt that I didn't sign up to be a part of. Like ever so often I'll sort of encounter or like trip over a piece that just appears in my life. And it's like, oh, I need to like pick that up and forgive for that. And right now, and many some of you might know, I do a podcast with my ex-husband now, and it's called Sam and Jen Got Divorced. And so there are times where things come up where I'm just like, oh yeah, that kind of bothers me. Like the other day, um, it was like this weird thing where he was like trying to say like trying to speak for me or something. It was a good thing. It was like a positive thing. It was like he was trying to be helpful. But for me, I was just like, I can speak for myself. Like I don't need for you I don't need for you to advocate for me. I don't need for you to be my friend. I don't need for you to, you know, try anything. Like I don't need any of that. But then I realized, oh, you know what? Maybe that's like a little thing that I need to also go back and review and forgive. And I think it is a process that goes on for the rest of our lives. And so when things come up, we do need to engage. But as things come up, understanding that we're engaging for the purpose of our freedom and for our future, right? And so that we can be the best versions of ourselves possible. Um, so as I find a peace, I forgive. Find a peace, forgive. That is the process of forgiveness, and it leads to freedom. Freedom. Like if for nothing else, understand that freedom is your reward. All right. Anybody else have these experiences? I don't know. Am I alone out here? I hope I'm not alone. Am I the only person who's gotten divorced on this whole thing? But you guys must have encountered it, engaged with it. I mean, I encountered divorce before I got divorced. My mother was divorced. My mother and father were divorced. So I get very funny, Sam. So I get, some of the pieces, third hand or third party or whatever the case is. Okay, let's keep moving. We're gonna get it in today. Divorce lessons or lessons I learned in divorce, number 4. Uh, Secrets are stupid. That is a lesson I learned in divorce. Culturally speaking, withdrawing or like withholding information, or even just like withstanding hard situations without speaking up, uh, culturally speaking, it's normal and it's encouraged. And so we don't put our dirty laundry out in the street. We don't tell others about our family hardships and situations. We deal with things in-house. And so I did learn that lesson, and I was very much encouraged to maintain that throughout the difficulties that I experienced in marriage. But what I realized is that keeping secrets is really stupid because it keeps us bound. It keeps us stuck, and it keeps us feeling like crap. I'll never forget this. I went to was it a baby shower or wedding shower? It was a shower. Anyway, just a bunch of ladies for a friend of mine, and her extended family were there. And so it's like her mom, her aunts, and like just different women were in the house. And we were in the kitchen. We were all talking, and obviously they're gonna ask like, "Oh, hey, how's married life?" They knew I had gotten married. How's married life? I was like, "Oh, it's great," And then of course the next question, where when are babies coming? No babies yet, and so on. Um, I do see a chat. I'm gonna read that in one second. Um, and I remember saying to one of the ladies, like, you know what? It's actually really hard. I'm not sure like how to navigate this. Like, I feel like this is probably harder than most marriages. And I know it's the first year, but I don't know if like I'm gonna be able to figure this out or work this out. And she was like, shh. She came and she was like, she took me aside and she's like, shh. Those are the kind of things you don't tell people. Those are the kind of things you keep a secret, you keep to yourself. And I was like, oh, okay. And I felt so ashamed in the moment because I was like, but this is like a kitchen full of ladies, like older Black women who have been married for ages, who come from the generation of we don't get divorced, who come from the generation of we stick it out, we work it out, we figure it out. And so I was like, surely they can offer me some kind of wisdom or reassurance or something. But she was like, shh, don't say anything. Like, keep that stuff a secret, keep that stuff tucked away. And I was like, oh man, okay, so like it's not good to say anything. Um, but the hiding for me was probably like heavier than the heartbreak at the end of the day. It was like, yes, I'm going through divorce. Yes, I'm going through separation, but I also have to hide it. I also can't talk about it except for in therapy where, we can talk about all our secrets. Um, but I found that in speaking up, in sharing, that I found the more I shared, I should say, is the more I realized how much not sharing is dumb. The more I spoke up about my life experience, is the more I realized how ineffective a solution or a strategy it is to keep silent or to keep secrets. Because once you start sharing and saying the words, the secrecy stuff, like shame breaks. There's the burden of shame, the burden of lack of self-acceptance, the burden of like self-loathing, confusion, all the stuff, it lives. Now it's just acceptance of the fact that this is a part of my story, my narrative, my life. And there are dozens, thousands of other people who are going through the same thing, whom I can then, one, not feel so alone, and whom I can speak with, heal alongside. My goodness, how powerful is that? So that was a lesson I definitely learned going through divorce. Like secrets are just they're unnecessary. They're unnecessary. And the quickest way to heal is actually to speak up. And when I say like share the truth, I mean find another human being and just share all of the things that you need to share that you have felt shame about or that you feel scared about or whatever the case is, because that will be such an affirming experience for you. There's not a thing right now that another human being doesn't know about my life. There's not a thing that I feel bound by shame about in my life today. Whoo, guys, I don't know if you understand how big that is. So, like, I would say tell, tell everything. Like, just tell somebody, speak up, tell somebody. Don't keep the secrets to yourself, because secrets are stupid. And I mean that also in the context of relationship. I learned that in divorce, right? So keeping secrets about what happened to me, but even in the context of marriage and relationship, don't keep secrets because eventually they're going to come out, right? The what's done in the darkness is going to come to light. So eventually the truth is going to come out. So don't keep the secrets, but understand what the point is. The point of sharing and telling is so that you can be released, right? And so that there can be genuine like openness, vulnerability. I can be vulnerable and authentic now in ways that, oh my goodness, were impossible for me before. And to me, that's winning. That's winning. Okay, I'm gonna go to the chat because I missed a couple. Okay. I think the experience is different for each person. Yes, as twice divorced, chief. Yes, I never felt the need for closure or forgiveness. When you were done, you were done, and your exes both asked for closure and understanding. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I think that's a part of the process, right? Sometimes we feel we need that closure and understanding. Sometimes we feel we need those answers. We need those apologies. I'm here to tell you that we don't. Well, I'm here to tell you that I didn't. Let's say that. For some, they choose to bury their pain And yes, a lot of our elders suffered in silence. Absolutely. Because they had a vision of marriage that was like, and we're going to talk about this in about 3 lessons. They had a vision of marriage that was like from now till the end, no matter what. I think we're a little bit more nuanced now in our generation. If you don't share, is there really pain? Bury it and it doesn't exist. Yes, that absolutely, right? It's like best choice ever. Bury all the pain. Um, okay, thank you guys so much. Um, divorce, no, lessons I learned in divorce number 3. Starting again takes time. Starting again takes time. Newly separated, not even divorced yet, and dating. Best decision ever. That is sarcasm. Guys, I had like, I probably had like 3 rebound relationships with like the same person, like different physical person, different like geographical region, different ages, different in that, but the same person. Like I went through the same situation like 2, 3 times. And it's because I started before I should have started. Why are we newly divorced and like or newly separated and we're dating? Like as I look back, I mean at the time I was just trying to figure life out. I just wanted to feel lovable. I just wanted to feel like desirable again. Life had blown up. All the messages about life was telling me that I was a failure and blah blah blah. And so my instinct was, well, I'm gonna go find somebody to justify that I'm not, or to convince me that I'm not, or to reassure me that I'm not, to speak to my insecurities and to validate me. And so I was like, okay, let's just go in. But it's like you have a gaping wound, right? We wouldn't do this with a physical wound, right? Only with emotional and psychological wounds. Like you have a gaping wound and you're like, yeah, let's go. Let's walk around with this gaping wound without finding healing, bandaging it up, or going through the process of disinfecting and all the things that need to be done so that the wound can heal uh well. There's no such thing as overnight healing. There's no such thing as like instant healing unless you get a miracle, in which case, most times we still have to maintain the miracle. So we still have to make lifestyle changes in order for us to do that. Sorry. So I think I would say just take the time, and I didn't take the time. So I learned in going through divorce that it's so important to take the time. I'm 10 years out, right? Tomorrow's going to be 10 years out from all of this, and I am still learning. I'm still healing. I'm still going through the process. Doesn't mean that yes, I'm ready now. I'm more ready than I was back then, but don't skip the process, right? Go through the healing process. Grieve, let go, heal. Do all of the work so that you can be the kind of person that you want to be and show up in the kind of ways that you want to show up in a new relationship so that you don't do the cycle thing and have this same recurring relationship over and over. Why do I always pick this person? Why am I always the rescuer? Why do I always stay in this particular role? Why do I always maybe 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 healing needs to happen. Maybe you started too soon. Maybe starting over needs to take a little bit more time for you. So do that. It's okay to be alone. It's okay. It's okay to be single. It's okay to be, single to mingle or whatever. Do a solo trip. Get to know yourself. Get some new hobbies. Um, I don't know, go out with your girlfriends or with your guy, like do like you stuff. Get to know who you are after this situation. I had to tell myself that. I went on my first solo trip like 2 years ago and it was a blast. I went to New Orleans for like 10 days. All I did was eat and listen to great music, eat great food and listen to great music. It was amazing. I enjoyed my own company. It was lovely, right? And I think we have to realize that we don't need to rush to get back into something. Oh my God, I got to get back into a relationship. Oh my God, I got to get back into a marriage situation. We don't. We're doing ourselves a disservice and we're doing our potential prospects a disservice as well. I will never forget the first guy that I dated after I was separated. I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. I knew I didn't want anything serious. And when he introduced me to his mom and he started talking marriage, I was like, whoa, hold on. I had to pull back real quick. Let's fall back all the way back. Because that's never that was never in my mind. But was I clear about it? No. What was I doing? I was just simply wanting him to be present, male presence, let me know that I'm pretty and buy me gifts. And we traveled all the world and, it's great and fun and adventurous and all the things. But my goodness, was that fair to him? I'm going to venture a guess and say no, because I wasn't ready and I wasn't fully able, one, to articulate that, to set expectations, and two, I wasn't able to fulfill any misleading expectations. So don't do yourselves any or don't do yourselves a disservice, I should say, and understand that starting again takes time. So that's definitely a divorce lesson. Lonely, hungry, and horny. Three reasons to date prematurely. Yeah, right? There you go. And yeah, hurt people hurt people. Um, Chief, ask yourself why you go on a date. And when you discover the reason, yeah, oh, wow, okay. Approaching the process accordingly. So that sounds like intentional dating. I love that tip. So starting again takes time. Yes, you need to get to know yourself, you need to heal, but then also pursue the dating process more intentionally so that you don't end up in a situation like you did before. And what I would say is that life is fun, life is flexible. We can laugh and find reasons to go out and be with people, but be clear about where you're at and what it is you actually are looking for from this relationship. And if you think about it beforehand, then you can be intentional about it as you go through it. Okay. So that was divorce lesson number 3. Lessons I learned in divorce number 2. Sorry. Water. It's not personal. Mm, mm. So what I mean by that is, it's not personal. It's not about me. Not everything is about me. I will admit that it was difficult for me to accept that it wasn't about me. It was hard not to make it personal or to make it about me. The divorce. And I had to remind myself. So this was in my self-reflection. I had to remind myself that I had issues long before I had met my ex-husband. He also had issues long before he met me. And I know for myself, there have been times in my life where I have made decisions that have been completely about me and not a reflection of this other person. My very first relationship, lovely man, like just amazing, incredible. God rest his soul. Um, I broke up with him. I've broken up with everybody that I've been with, except for one person. Well, kind of. Anyways, kind of. But I'm like an extreme withdrawer. I'm like, okay, we're good to go. I'm good. I'm out. I'm leaving. Right? This is like a pattern, and it started long before I got married, long before I met my ex-husband. So I had to realize that, or I had to remind myself of that, and then I had to realize that that's also the case for other people. The things that they are going through are not about me. They sometimes can be about me, but whatever. But most of the time, they're not. Most of the time, other people have to go through their own process, and they have to do life, do healing, do work, make decisions, and so on, take actions that are about them. And we have to let people be who they are and how they are. And part of my lesson learned was to not take things so personally. So the behavior, the treatment, I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Maybe if I was prettier, maybe if I was lighter, maybe if I was smarter, maybe if I was all the ers and so on. No, absolutely not. Today I'm wiser, smarter, better, all the things. And I can say that it's a relief to understand that not everything is about me. The world doesn't revolve around me, right? Um, but I also don't need to take the decisions that my ex-husband made about his life personally as a reflection of me. And that was it was a hard lesson to learn, but it was a very relieving lesson to learn. Um, and I don't ask questions like why would he do this to me? And, or how could he do this to me? And, things like that, because it wasn't done to me. And I also thought of this was a way back when, but I remember thinking like, if I was so affected by his behavior, like how much more so would he be affected by his behavior? Like if I couldn't even live with his behavior, like, ugh, it must be like a terrible situation to have to wake up to himself every day and look himself in the mirror. Like that to me was heartbreaking. I was like, you have to live with you. I don't. I can leave, which I did. But I felt compassion and empathy about that because it's real pain. It's real pain that you put me through, but real pain that you have to hold every day of your life. So, it's not about me. Don't take things so personal. That was my lesson number two. And ooh, divorce lessons I learned in divorce. Lessons I learned in divorce, number one. And I might have time for a bonus one because, like I said, I started with 30 and whew, we chipped it away. Love can leave. Love can leave. Um, for a long time, I felt like a bad person, a bad woman, a bad Christian, um, uh, because I left, because I asked for a divorce. And that messaging was actually reinforced. And so the church is like, God hates divorce. And then my mother-in-law was like, you don't understand what it is to be a woman. You need to shape up yourself and stick with it and whatever. Um, and my dad, who is a strong African Muslim man, was also very much along those lines. Like, you don't understand what it takes. You need to stick with your husband and so on. So I felt really bad. Like, I was like, oh, well, if I guess if I took these, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack. You guys can dispute it because, from our faith background, right? So there's covenant relationship. Marriage is a covenant. It's forever. The vows say till death do us part and so on. So I get it. Um, but I think what I had to learn is that I wasn't going to be a prisoner. Like, it's a life sentence, yes, but what's the word? There are like caveats. There are loopholes. There's fine print for it, to it. And I had to come to terms with that after I got divorced. I was like, okay, Jen, you're not a bad person. Um, and this was a struggle. This is like a genuine struggle. So, for those of you who don't have the struggle, then, more power to you. But I genuinely had to work through it. I was like, okay, am I like a terrible person? Am I completely disqualified from ever having happiness in life again because God is mad at me and everybody's mad at me. And, now I'm like this liability out here in the streets because I'm a divorced woman. And oh my goodness, it was just a lot. And again, reinforced, like people would be like, why did you leave? And uh oh you're single, why are you single, you seem to be okay. It was this sort of underlying like, what is wrong with you type of um approach to me. And even to this day, people are still like, why are you, I don't understand. You seem to be smart and you kind of have your head on straight, and why are you single? I don't understand. There must be something wrong with you. But anyways, the point is that I learned in divorce that love can leave. You can still love someone and you can still make a choice and a decision for your safety, for your health. And there's fine print for a reason when it comes to divorce. And I took, and this doesn't mean that everybody needs to make the choice that I made, but I took my situation and I made a decision that was best for me at the time. And sometimes you have to love yourself enough and love the other person enough to leave. And part of me was thinking, I can't be in this situation and let this person that I love treat me this way or behave this way. I can't. I wasn't going to stick around and do that. And so sometimes love has to let the other person do their own thing, right? Um, so that was one, I'm going to read that in a second. That was definitely a lesson that I learned in divorce, that love can leave, and love doesn't let loved ones act crazy. Like, we don't do this with our kids. You don't let your kid go to school and bully other people and, you know, pull out the girl's hair and fight with everybody, steal people's lunches and stuff like that. No, you would reprimand your child, you would ground them, you would take away their stuff, their phone, their Xbox. You would you would discipline them. And plus they probably get suspended for craziness like that. We don't let people that we love just do whatever they want, act and behave however they want, treat you however they want, right? And sometimes you just got to draw some hard lines in the sand. There are consequences for the boundaries that you put in place for how people are going to treat you. And so love can leave. Love doesn't always stay in the same way, right? Love doesn't always have to stay in the same way. Love can leave, whether it's for a season, a time, and sort of renegotiate the relationship. So that is my number one lesson. Should I do a bonus? I'm gonna read the chats and then I'm gonna do a bonus. I learned that friends last longer than lovers. Ah, chief. Oh my goodness. So it's more important to hold on to a friendship than a love relationship because that love doesn't last forever. Yeah. It's a different kind of love. Like I said, I'm still in communication and relationship with my ex-husband in a different way. It's a different kind of love. There's definitely no animosity. I don't have any hatred there anymore. Worked through that. But I'm also a lifer. So I don't do like reason, season, lifetime. I'm a lifer. Like if you make your way into my heart, you're there for life. Like that's just the reality of the matter. And so things might change, seasons might change, or we might be close, close, close at a certain time, or we might be more distant, but you're always in my heart. And I've got love for you, and I will give you the shirt off my back. I will bend over backwards to try and figure out how to help you. If you call on me, like I'm gonna be there. If you are in my heart, you're in my heart for a lifetime. There's only one person on this planet, one person that if I saw them today, I wouldn't talk to them. Only one. Um, we don't need to know who that is. Okay, bonus. Okay. Which bonus? I have so many bonus ones because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have time. Okay, let's do I, I lied to myself. I also like this one. Travel is good, but it's not therapy. Okay, I lied to myself. Um, this is a bonus lesson that I learned in divorce. On some level, I used to tell myself that it wasn't as bad as it actually was. And I think I touched on this a little bit. But denial was like my go-to. Denial was it was like my default response. And I would just be like, no, 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 it's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's okay. And I realized that the when the truth is too threatening, or when the truth is too much, when the truth is too big or too heavy, I go to denial. And I used to say this to my clients that denial is like a gift. We have the capacity to deny for a reason. So when things are too overwhelming, we go to denial so that we can give ourselves room and space to grow until we find enough of whatever we need to handle the situation. And then, it'll come back up and then we can deal with it at that time. We have more resources, we have more skills, whatever the case is. So I remember actively lying to myself, like self-deception, a huge thing. And I had to lie to myself before I lied to other people. Oh yeah, no, no, everything's good. Yeah, oh yeah, everything's fine. Yeah. And only people who really knew me would be able to detect, like in the back of my eyes, there's no spark, there's no light, there's no like mischievousness that Jen normally has, right? I don't smile with my eyes. It was just like, yeah, everything's good. You have that like grimace on your face. Um, but I realized that after the divorce that I had done so extensively, like award for lies. And I don't like lies. Like my top two pet peeves in life are being cold and lies. And so imagine me having to admit to myself that I lied to myself. And I did that for the purpose of survival. Um, and in some ways, I guess happiness. I was like, well, if I lie to myself and tell myself, that this is okay, then maybe I can still maintain or access some level of joy and happiness. Like things won't be so, uh, you know, devastating, so like in despair kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely learned that in divorce. And there's a difference between like a rough patch and like this needs like we need to throw this out. Like this is rotten to the core. Sometimes you get a fruit and there's like a little bruise on it and you like cut off the bruise, or the cheese, there's like a little mold on it and you like cut off the mold, and then you like use the rest or you eat the rest. There's a difference between that and like rotten to the core. When you bite in, it's sour. You cannot keep going, right? Don't lie to yourself and say, "Oh no, no, it's okay. It's all right." No, because you're gonna get run belly. It's so similar to our relationships. And that doesn't always mean you need to cut it off and get rid of it and so on. Sometimes it does mean you need to renegotiate. You need to say, hey, something is really off here. Can we fix it? Can we figure out how to make it good again? Because I'm not feeling good in it. Right. So I lied to myself. That was your bonus lesson for divorce. I noticed we have a couple of minutes left. And so I will just say this. If you're going through a divorce, if you've gone through a divorce, if you know someone going through a divorce, share this with them. If you know somebody who's in a marriage and they're trying to hold on because they don't want to get to divorce, I'm for marriage, by the way. I love marriage. I want to be married again. And that time it's going to last forever. Um, I love marriage, and I think that we ought to do our darndest, do our very best, do the very most that we possibly can. Go to counseling, read 20,000 books, do all of whatever's within your power to save your marriage, to hold on to your marriage, to strengthen, to build up, and to make your marriage great. I sound like the orange agent. Make your marriage great, great again. Is that what it is? Anyway, you can make your marriage great. You can rekindle love. You can go deeper. You can recover. There are lots of ways to do so. And if you do need resources, please reach out to me. I will be more than happy to provide you with resources. Check out Sam and Jen Got Divorced, and give yourself patience. Give yourself like grace. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace because it's for a lifetime. We're gonna keep going. Nothing has to be like a rash, immediate, now rushed decision. So give yourself grace. Give yourself patience, and work through the things. We are here to revolutionize our relationships, and to build great relationships. And so that takes time. Anything that you want to build that's strong and sturdy, that's going to last, takes time. So I encourage you guys to be for your relationships, your marriages, and to be for your own healing as well. Next week on the relationship series, woo, we're going to be talking about communication hacks, how to communicate better, right? So leveling up our skills. Um, and then we're also going to be talking about, so these are top 10 communication hacks. And the following week, we're going to be talking about top 10 red flags in sex and romance. So you don't want to miss the next couple of weeks. We're going to be out here having great conversations. And don't forget to level up your relationships. Thank you guys so much again for being here, and we'll see you next week.